I'm Adriana Maldonado. I'm from Mexico. I live in León, Guanajuato, which is a city in the center of Mexico. I'm a businesswoman. I have a consultancy firm, Gnosis 21, and my expertise is in regional development, planning, and innovation. And now I'm also a general secretary of Chevening Alumni in Mexico. I studied in Lancaster University in 1994, 1995, so quite some years ago. And my journey has been in the banking system and as a lecturer at the Tecnológico de Monterrey for nearly 20 years. And now I'm just running my company.
Thank you, Adriana. Sol, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
For sure. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you, with fellow UK alumni. My name is Solange Paredes. Please feel free to call me Sol. And I'm a scientist. I'm based in Lima, Peru, currently, but what I did for my BSc was biotechnological engineering. And right after that, I did my master's at UCL, University College London, and pursued a Master of Science in molecular medicine. And I've been lucky enough to have been at UCL twice because I did my master there. Then I worked for a little bit at the UCL Cancer Institute, and then I did my PhD also at University College London, and I did it in cancer research. So I finished in 2017, which is not that long ago. Sometimes it feels it's been longer, but right after that, right after my PhD, I was accepted for postdoc at Oxford University, but due to some bureaucracy in Peru and my previous studentship, I had to move back to my home country, where I am now. So now I'm in Peru. I'm a postdoc at Universidad San Martín de Porres. And it's a very good thing because I can do a bit of research, of cancer research in understudied populations, which is, for example, Latin American cohort. So I'm very happy that I am now in Peru doing science and advancing not only science, but STEM, actually, STEM, I mean, women in the STEM, which are something that we need to advance, we need to encourage, and I think I'm doing my bit here in that sense. So very happy to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Solange. Can I pass it over to you, Julieth?
Sure. Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to have this space with my co-panelists and with you. I am Julieth Sanclemente. Right now, I am an senior associate lawyer at Garrigues, an international firm. I am located right now at Bogota in Colombia. I was born in Cali, that is a smaller city here in Colombia, and then I pursued my undergrad here in Colombia as a lawyer almost 8 years ago. I've been practicing in the area of competition law, consumer protection, data protection, some of intellectual property too. And I did my master, my LLM at London School of Economics in 2020 to 2021. And it was really challenging since it was just at the ending of COVID, but it was a goal and an objective that I was preparing for a long time. And even with COVID, I did everything that it was in my hands to be able to travel over there. So, and right now I am at Garrigues, that is an international law firm. And I've been a senior for almost 2 years right now. And that's all. Thank you very much for having me here today.
Thank you very much, Juliet. Minerva, let's go over to you. While we go to Minerva, I also encourage you all to continue greeting us from different parts of the world and seeing participants from South Africa, Cuba, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and lots of other geographies popping by to share experiences with
Thank you, Diana. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone from Mexico. Greetings to all of you. It is a pleasure to, as my panelists say, to be here with all of you. I am Minerva Ledezma. I am from Mexico. I am a chemical engineer. I studied my bachelor and master's degree in the University of Guanajuato. After that, I moved to England to study my PhD in chemical engineering at the University of Manchester. I studied there with Professor Robin Smith and Professor Megan Jobson about crude oil distillation systems design. Currently, I am back in Mexico working as a professor in chemical engineering at Tecnológico de Monterrey, campus Estado de México. I would like to share with you a bit of my journey after graduating from Manchester for my PhD. I was there until 2019. When I finished my PhD. After that, I came back to Mexico and the pandemic starts. So I spent almost a year with my family, as most of all around the world. After that, I joined a technology company as a senior consultant engineer. I was part of the Women's Leadership Forum of that company, which main goal was to enhance the abilities and soft skills from all employees around the world, and also to make an impact as a woman in STEAM in a technology company. After a year working for that, I moved to academia, where I am now as a professor. My main lectures are about simulation process and chemical engineering design. Now I am in Toluca, my home city. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Minerva, and all of you for your very inspiring introductions. Now let's draw on your macro vision, your influence, your experience to dig deeper into the theme of today, right? The influence, the glass ceiling, gender equality in countries and in the workplace. Juliet, starting with you and going back into that vision, more into the policies and the legal regulations and considering your journey, would you say, or which would you say, if any policies or initiatives in Latin American countries or within the organizations you work for that have been successful in promoting gender equality and breaking the glass ceiling? What can we learn from them?
Okay, thank you very much, Diana. Yeah, I have 2 activities, 2 initiatives that are being set in my workplace. I would like to share about them. And the first one, it is a program, it's a mentoring program for women. And I just want to first mention that it is not the only mentoring program in which I've been. I've been in another one from a foreign organization before, but I would like to share a little bit about this program. And it is one in which you are assigned to a mentor, that it could be a partner, a female or male partner from the firm. And not only from Colombia, this is an international firm, so therefore it could be from anywhere. And in my case, it was a partner from Chile. And this tool was really useful since I was able to detail with him, with his help and experience, the goals and objectives that I have for my professional life. So I was able to really detail them. And then in a different, it was within different sessions during a year. This specific program was during a year. And then we established, mainly by my initiative, but also detailed with his help, the activities and the timeline in which I will implement and develop these activities. It was really useful for me, not only from a macro vision of my professional life or what I want. I really want this. How can I obtain this type of targets? But also discussing with him, it was a perfect space, for example, to discuss a specific situation that I've been passing through those specific days in which I had the discussion with him. So I just share with him, like, for example, no, today this happened to me. I don't know how to solve it. So it was really useful, not only for the macro strategy, but also to use his experience and his point of view in order to solve a specific situation that I've been passing in my work. So I think that this is one of the most useful tools that I had the honor to be in order to develop more specifically what I want, how I can do it, and to learn to observe that some objectives, and this is one example that I was really worried about, that is, I want just to share with you. It was like how I can do to get clients for the business. I thought before that it was like, and I still think that is really a specific task that is really difficult to achieve. It's really difficult, but he helped me just to understand that it could be a long-term objective, not only like a medium or short-term objective, and different steps and different activities that I could develop in order to strengthen my position, my recognition in the market as a lawyer, as a lawyer that can be trusted, etc. So this specific example was really useful for me because I was seeing this objective like really far away, really complicated, and he helped me to put it on earth and go step by step in order to be able to achieve this goal. I wanted also, so therefore, it is possible that in the places that you are working, or even if you're an independent person, I think that the mentoring is a great tool that people can use, and it can be get not only but because a workplace is giving it to you, but you can share it. You can look for it. You can look for not directly your boss or the people that work directly with you, because probably you will not feel able to share with them as much as you want, but probably somebody else in the workplace where you are, or even somebody else that you know, or somebody else with more experience than you. I think that it is really important. So this is one of the tools that I've been able to use, and I think in my workplace has helped me to grow as a lawyer, to grow as a senior associate, and to continue with my career in the fair or wherever I am. So not only helped me to set and specify the activities that I needed to do to get my goals, but also to grow the self-confidence in me, or to modify certain conducts that I've been developing that I was not helping really much to my professional development. So I think this is one of the tools that are really useful, and it could be also a program in which you're getting meetings, like for example every 2 months, but also it could be done for one meeting. I think that this is a really great tool, not only coming from mentor woman or mentor, but also from mentor men. I think that it could be a really useful tool. And the second one that I would like to share, it is a program in which mothers and fathers, after they're having their maternity leave, they come back to the firm, and usually, as in so many places, they will have to fulfill their work in full time. They will have, again, all the responsibilities and obligations, and the same obligations as everyone else are having in the workplace. But here in the firm where I work, we have a program in which both for men and women, they are not obliged to maintain the same level of time work as everybody else. They have like a reduction in the time in which they are working in order to use this time for their children, for their newborn, for the house chores, in order to have a balance in their life, not only for work, but also for the life in house. And I think that it's a really useful and interesting tool that is not only granted for women, and I think that this is really important. Here in Colombia, we have a maternity leave that it is more extended for women, but they are trying to share some days between some leave days for women to men, but currently there is not an equivalence of days between women and men for the maternity leave. So I think that this first point sometimes is difficult as a prejudice for employees to engage women that are particularly in the time in which they will have children, since the maternity leave will empty their work spot. But right now, with this program that I was mentioning to you, the equilibrium between men and women is the same. There is an equilibrium since apply for both. So I think this is really important to remove probably the prejudice or the idea that engaging somebody between certain ages will damage their business or the dynamic of working. So I think this is really important. And so I think this is really good this is a step to break this glass ceiling. But in any case, it's not perfect. We're still figuring out how to implement it in a good manner, since, for example, in my work, it is not that you just work certain hours. You can say that, but it's more that you have goals and tasks, and no matter how long will this task will take. So it is a work in progress to effectively guarantee it be a positive thing not only for families, but for work too. Those are the two steps that I wanted to mention.
Thank you. Thank you, Julieth, for shedding light on the opportunities and the potential of mentoring and the ambition of bringing some of the debates on gender equality around maternity and how to address that in practice. Minerva, drawing on your engagement with the Gender Leadership Forum and from all the career and the influence and different battles that you might have raised in the process, what is the one commitment you would like to see that would help bring about gender equality in leadership? What's that commitment that you see central in driving that change?
Well, thank you, Adriana. It's a very good question. Actually, I was reflecting on it this morning because I had an issue at work. So I would like to see that leaders in either academia or industry think more about people in general, because leadership is not about ourselves. It's about helping others to develop their skills. So I think that if we have more leaders that consider that we are human beings, not only machines, to do the work from hours on hours, it is a good question, a good issue that we address it, because if we change the mind of the people who are now in a leadership position with their example, it will be translated to the lower levels. So I think that it will be a very good example of leadership because they need to think about people. We are all in the same boat. We are a team, either academic or industry, but they need to think more about the people itself.
And well, I'll come back to you maybe to follow up on that kind of commitment in the thinking of the people and in bringing more gender equality. How would that look like? What are potentially the kind of measurements and the kind of processes that would need to be adjusted in order to transition from those productive machine approach into a more human base? I'll give you a moment to think about it, and maybe I'll pass it to, or would you like to come in now?
No, it's okay now.
Yeah, please.
Well, I think that I have seen either in industry and academia that just for this, the fact that I am a woman, they expect either or more for me or less for me, just because I am a woman. So if we can teach in some way the leaders, the men leaders in academia or in industry, that we do have all the same capacities, no matter the sexual orientation that we have or the gender that we was born. It is the same abilities and we all have the same capabilities to do their job. If we are in industry, if we are in academia, we are all the same. So I think that it will be good for, at least in Latin America, to have a little school or something, a course, a short courses for leaders, for men leaders, to think about a woman that is all the same. A woman, a man, we all have the same abilities, the same capabilities, and the same skills to develop a job in a successful way.
Thank you. Yeah, it is about a change of mindset, right? And start influencing behaviors and getting that message through in a clearer way. And it touches upon something that relates to cultures and stereotypes, and it's around the bias, right? The conscious and the unconscious biases. And Adriana, from your perspective as a businesswoman and drawing into finance, do you think there is awareness of the existence of conscious and unconscious bias when talking and influencing decisions around gender equality? And how can we influence, or how can we advance on this awareness to reduce the impact of, in some cultures, particularly linked to related stereotypes?
Yes, actually, there are some structural obstacles in gender inequality. There are some data from the 2030 agenda in Latin America and the Caribbean. One of them is socioeconomic inequality. The second one is discriminatory, violent, and patriarchal cultural patterns, sexual division of labor, and unjust social organization of care, and the concentration of power and hierarchical relations in the public sphere. About this, I must say that in Mexico, discriminatory, violent, and patriarchal cultural patterns are the most representative in gender discrimination. It is quite common to see young women that have to face, to choose between continuing their professional career within a company or their families. That is, women that are chosen for a leadership position, most of the time, they are not supported by the family. Therefore, they reject the position. Sometimes it is the partner or husband that forces them to give up the opportunity if this means that they would earn more money than men at home. So even if the women are talented with powerful skills and knowledge and mentally prepared for the position, they cannot find the roadmap in their private life to make a successful career as any other male colleague. And all these factors are worse with women under vulnerable conditions. And also the predominance of cultural privilege in the business environment. As a businesswoman, I have found some facts that I would like to share with you. It is common to hear that there is an inclusion and there is a gender perspective in organizations and business associations, but actually it is not. And we can see that these organizations and business associations are led by men, not by women. So the question is if they are really inclusive and with gender perspective, why women are not at the top of the organizations and the associations, no? And actually, there are some behaviors of discriminatory and violence in business environment. I have seen that, unfortunately. One of them is, for example, when men complain, they said that they have found inconsistency in some way. But if women complain, it is usually said that they are conflictive. When men report a corruption, it is usually said that they are trustful people. But when women reports corruption, it is usually said that they are dramatic, for example. Also, when men don't allow abuse and set boundaries, it is said that they have authority and leadership. On the other hand, when women don't allow abuse and set boundaries, it is usually said that they are creating a soap opera, for example. No, that's the kind of behaviors against women that makes the difference and that makes a very deep gap between men and men in the business environment. There is a line in respectful behaviors, but it is visible for men, and I think it is invisible for women. Even in 2023, in some meetings, I have heard that empowered women shouldn't be involved in associations and organizations because they can provoke instability and controversies. And sometimes I have also heard that men have to stand women because they have no choice at all just for this fight against the violence of women. So there is a lot of work to do. We have to be very active in fighting for getting genuine equality for women to be respected based on what we are and what we have worked for. And I think that men and women have to be the same positions. They have to have the same opportunities for leadership. And also, they have to work on protocols to protect women. There are no protocols at all in organizations and associations in business environment to protect women in case of disrespect and gender violence, which makes even deeper inequality in the environment internally.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Adriana, for such an informed picture of biases and discrimination in the business sector, and for that critical recommendation of advocating and being persistent. It tends to be an understood commitment and need. But also the need to bring some objective protocols and some objective measures that will support the whole measurement and the whole follow-up around this agenda. Solange, or even if I can pick up on you and just thinking, like, we've transitioned into law, into business, STEM as well as part of your same discipline, but you've transitioned in universities and sectors. And would you say that are there any specific industries or any specific sectors in Latin America where you believe the glass ceiling is more pronounced, and what can be done, what could be done to break these barriers?
Thanks for that, Diana. Yes, I think the glass ceiling is everywhere, sadly, but I think it's more pronounced even in careers related to science and technology. What is so-called STEM. No? At least that's what my perspective is, because that's where I dwell, that's where I move. I'm a scientist, and that's what I see every day. Of course, there has been a number of steps that have been taken in order to encourage more participation or more presence of women in this type of careers. Because as my fellow panelists mentioned before, there's this prejudice that maybe women are not as capable, especially for careers related to engineering, for example, that we don't have that kind of brain, maybe, you know, that there's a lot of prejudice. But of course, this is not the case. And it is still insufficient, what we have done, at least in what I know in Peru. And I'm very confident to say that it's the same for the rest of Latin America. What can we do in order to ameliorate this situation? From the position where we are, you know, not all of us can be decision makers. Maybe we're not right now in the position to make very important decisions, but we can do our bit from where we are. And I think it encapsulates what we've been saying so far. So first, it would be mentorship. And I know that the British Council is doing a very good job at encouraging mentorship, especially for women in STEM. We need to drink from the wisdom of previous generations, or of previous persons that were in our position and that know how to navigate different challenges, not only in the professional part of our lives, but also how to cope and how to balance life and work. I was mentioning right before this session that I have a newborn. I don't know if you managed to see. I'm blessed enough to have my mother-in-law with me, and she helps me. My newborn is almost 2 months, and I'm on maternity leave. But in Peru, maternity leave is about 3 months, and so next month I have to go back, and it's a very challenging process because it's very short. The baby still needs his mom or her mom in other cases, but of course you are expected to produce as machines, as my fellow panelists were saying. No, sometimes authorities are not thinking of us, are not thinking of their team as people, but they are thinking of them as these productive robots. No, and we need to consider that if my team, if my collaborator, if my employee feels acknowledged, feels supported, this will probably be translated in more production, because it's very important how you feel, how you see yourself, how valued you feel in order to be more effective as well. And so just to sum up, I have been reflecting on the question, and I'm thinking of four measures that we can take, or 4 steps that we can take in order to break this glass ceiling. The first one would be mentorship, as I was saying before. The second one would be training. We were discussing before that, you know, we needed to have some sort of education, you know, for leaders, education for, and maybe we were thinking of men leaders, but I fear that women sometimes have also this unconscious bias that we were saying just a few minutes ago. So we would need to have like a bit of training, an induction maybe, in order to open up to this unconscious bias, to be more aware of them, and to sort of mitigate the prejudice that we have as a society. You know, so that's number 2. Number 3 would be role models. We need to see other women doing stuff. And in order to do that, and this leads me to the 4th measure, which is ownership or confidence. We need to own what we do. We need to be confident, and we need to be maybe a bit more ambitious. Not in a bad way, but you know, I think men are very good at that. Are very good at just you know, going for whatever they want and give it a try. We may be a bit more perfectionist. We tend to think too much and maybe say, I don't have all what is required, I shouldn't apply. And that somehow it's cutting our wings. You know, it's not letting us advance. And I think we need to own more. We need to be more confident, more ambitious, and just give it a go, give it a try. Maybe it will fail. Maybe we won't be selected, and that's all right, because whenever we apply to whatever is out there, we learn in the process. So it's never time wasted. It's always a good opportunity to learn. And the good thing about being more confident, being more ambitious, and trying new things is that we will become more visible. And other generations, younger generations that will see us doing stuff will be also inspired, hopefully, or at least they will know that, you know, some years ago, I saw a woman doing this or that, and maybe I can do it as well. You know, I think that's very, very important. It's not only about us. Sometimes we, as I was saying before, we overthink stuff. But maybe it's an encouraging thought to consider that what we do or what we try, it's not only about us, it's also about the younger generations that will see us and that will hopefully be encouraged and inspired. You know? So that's what I've been reflecting on. Just to wrap up, where I think it's more pronounced, this glass ceiling, it's in STEM. What can we do? 4 things. I'm open to suggestions. If people, if our attendees could join and maybe add something in the chat, would be excellent. But I'm thinking of mentoring, I'm thinking of training, I'm thinking of more role models, and I'm thinking of ownership, you know, being more confident. And yeah, that's what I can what I can share so far.
Thank you, Solange, for a very comprehensive answer. And I will take that pitch to ask our participants to bring suggestions over the chat box. Yeah, what do you think can be done? What are the key elements that will allow us to inspire, to advance on that career progression, maybe as we are growing professionally, hitting and breaking that glass ceiling. So looking forward to seeing some suggestions on the chat box, some reflections, getting you engaged, some questions as well that you might have for the panelists. And while you think of them, I will prompt a couple. Thank you, Solange, for those 4 key elements. As you mentioned, the British Council has a program encouraging women in STEM. There are some there is some data showing that there is a problem around engagement and inspiring and bringing women into STEM careers, and it's based on several things that you brought, the inspiring, the role modeling, the training, the influencing, but of course, as part of that data and all the research that we do in program design, the leaky pipeline, it's seen across just different disciplines, right, in different fields, and it's that moment of transitioning between maturing in a career and going high in terms of influencing, right, influencing systems, influencing policies, influencing behaviors. So it's good to bring those specific action points, and then you were talking something very relevant around those policies for maternity, and good to reflect on those particular cases that we might influence. I'll come back to each one of you, and I see you have your hands up, Solange. I can start with you, maybe to reflect quickly on that key win that you've had in this career progression, that moment where you celebrated a bit more, where you took ownership of some particular win, even if you could have celebrated more, but just reflecting on what that meant, and how did you see yourself influencing that web. So I can start back to you, Solange, very briefly, just a bit of a bite. Tell us a bit of this win, in this agenda throughout your leadership, throughout your career, as women progressing in your careers.
Yes, thank you for that, Diana. Just to mention before I forget, there was something that when I think it was Adriana that mentioned these comparisons between men and women, and saying that women are considered more dramatic, having the same reaction, and men would be considered as being assertive, and that got me thinking to a study, a very recent study. I think I saw it this week, where apparently, we tend to think that women are more hormonal, no, and because of that, we can be more emotional and dramatic and so on. And this study actually found that men are also quite hormonal, and not only that, but quite comparable with women. It's only that women know when and why. I mean, because of period, because of menstruation, whilst men have these same fluctuations, but it's not set on a very defined period of time as women do. And just wanted to mention this because there's a lot of prejudice, and there's a lot of missing knowledge that we have, and we have closed those gaps of knowledge with prejudice. And just to say that we need to keep our minds open. We still have a lot to learn about women and men, about our differences, which and that we should celebrate these differences. It's a good thing that we're different in many ways. So going back to the question, Diana, which is, if I understood correctly, the moments where we have that we celebrated as women in our careers. If that's the case, then I would say for me was my PhD, for sure. When I got my PhD, it was a huge time for celebration, because it was because it was a good summary, a good summary of what effort, sacrifice, ambition, and this ownership I was talking about a few minutes ago were about. No, I really needed this, and well, not only myself. Any person that is reaching a goal will need those key ingredients. No, those moments to reflect and to just go for it, and just do your best, and also hope for the best
and reach the goal, right? The PhD. Thank you.
Exactly.
Maybe I'll hand it now to Julieth. Tell us a bit of your key win as we're coming closer to our closure. If you can link that key win with any piece of advice that you would like to share with the audience on getting there.
Thank you, Diana. I wanted to share, it was for me at the end of my master in UK, I was trying to get an internship, and I got it from the OECD. I think that, and it was not easy to get that stage. I applied through the formal application form, and it was like impossible in that way. I just, in the first program, mentoring program that I wasn't in that moment in that mentoring program, but I checked who the mentors were, and I saw that there was a woman from the OECD in the division that I wanted to get to stage, and I wrote to her, and it was that in that way that I got that stage. So I was really happy about all the initiative and activities and the confidence on me that Solange was talking about, that I was trying to grow in order to get that stage. So I will say that was one of the key achievements for me. But I wanted also to mention that it was the moment in which I had to train and to work with other people that they were not my peers. It was people that I was in charge of. So I think that in that moment it was like, and it's a construction, it's a work in progress, but every day I just figured out that nobody told you how to train people, how to teach people in soft skills and so many things. So I think that is an achievement for me every day, to work with people and to teach them and to train them. So I would say that is that. And another recommendation or measure that, as Solange were mentioned, I had also those two of those in my mind. It was confidence and the ambition. I call it initiative. That is also to go further in the things that we do. And I will just add communication. I think that it is really, really important for men and women to have a good communication in your work field. And having a clear and complete and on-time communication will help you to avoid so many misunderstandings, so many problems that could be easily avoided. So I will just add that it will be to have a clear communication and not to be ashamed of any questions that you have, that we have. Is just to ask. Everyone has the right to ask for something if we don't understand. And I think that this is a key element that will help people to go through their professional field.
Thank you very much, Julieth, for that. Minerva, can we get your thoughts on this, your weight and your advice?
Thank you, Diana. It's a pleasure. I would like to share my personal story. I was waiting to be accepted at the University of Manchester for 7 years. During that time, I was in a treatment, a long way treatment. I had 2 surgeries and I learned English by myself. So it is my personal story. My personal story has encouraged many other people around the world. When I talk about my story, they think about myself. So my personal advice for anyone is go for it, never give up. As simple.
Thank you. Adriana, here you go, closing the session of wins and advice. Please, over to you.
Yes, actually, since I was in Lancaster University, that moment changed my life. And I started, and no matter what rules in my life, I've been working on that for 30 years, and believe me, they work. And this is my advice for you. The first one is you have to keep in mind that you are good enough to be successful, no matter what. Sometimes you will face fear due to uncertainty, and this is normal. This is quite regular, and it is the same feeling for men and women. The only difference is that women say it and men don't. So don't say it, just go for it. If you have a partner, fiancé, husband, friends, family, they have to be part of your team at any stage of your life, always, no matter what. Set boundaries, no matter what. This is for your own safety. Report any kind of gender violence, no matter what and no matter who. This is what will build credibility in your personal branding, which is very, very important nowadays. Be supportive to another women, no matter what. There are sometimes women that for any reason that we don't know, they cannot find a way to defend themselves. So if it is on your hands, push them to become stronger. And finally, break the ceiling glass. It doesn't matter, no matter what. So you are ready to be the leader of you, and you can go infinity and beyond, as Buzz Lightyear would say. And of course, no matter what, you just go for it. And one book that I would like to advise you is this one, The Confidence Code, The Science and Art of Self-Assurance, What Women Should Know. This book will tell you that you are good enough. Don't think about it. You are good enough to be successful. As Sergio said, you have to be visible. Try it, talk about it, say it. And all of them together, all these that I just mentioned, all of them together will modeling your mental health. Nowadays, it is very important to take care of your mental health. If you have a good mental health, you are ready to be successful in anything you would like. Family, profession, friends, colleagues, organizations, business association, research, scientists, STEM, anything you want. I have a daughter that is 25 years old. She's an engineer, and I think that she's my most inspiration for all this. And believe me, it works.
Thank you, Adriana, and thank you to all you panelists. I think this has been a very inspiring session, but it has been also very, very concrete, right? So we did go through some of the practical processes that might work. And we're talking about mentoring, we're talking about referencing, role models, policies and regulation that need to be in practice. There is a question in the chat, we weren't able to address it. You know, what are the different multilaterals or governments doing to address gender equality from a policy perspective that needs to be addressed, that needs to be balanced. Critical pieces of advice, go for it and pay it back. Support other women, support other men as well, just be supported, grow from the confidence of understanding that you play a role and it's a critical role in terms of quality, in terms of competencies. Going back into all the data that also influences our reflections and our decision making. And of course, shedding light into the element of communication, right? Open and honest spaces for communication. Working in the different dimensions, that personal, that institutional, that political, to ultimately, and Adriana will make that advice to wrap up the panel, break the ceiling. And the audience that we're talking to today, it's an audience of leaders. It's UK alumni. We're talking about men and women full of wins. So yeah, let's celebrate. And for all those women that are struggling to advance and progress, break that ceiling. For all of you who have already broken it, because we're full of ceiling breakers in this UK alumni community, let's continue working to support others, and let's continue working to influence the system in a way that it's transformative, that it's diverse, and that it values the richness of equality around research, around talent development, and ultimately around more fair and inclusive and powerful models of society. Thank you very much for all your engagement on the session. See you around on the second day of the festival, and have a good end of day and week, or end of day or start of the morning, depending on the geography. Thank you very much. Goodbye.